D-backs with the walk-off in extra innings against the Chicago Cubs, which can only be described as an instant classic.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas. I'm a multimedia journalist and I'm a graphic designer, so please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com to see all of my latest work. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. On today's podcast, we're going to be talking about that instant classic against the Chicago Cubs. D-backs walk off in extra innings. We'll talk about what not to do from that game if the D-backs want to win the series finale. And then we'll wrap up the podcast by discussing Eugenio Suarez and the little mini slump he's in. So we got a jam-packed pod as always for you guys. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube, so please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the All-Star break, so please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. But now let's get into the podcast and let's talk about that instant classic of a win for the Arizona Diamondbacks, because a 12-11 victory over the Cubs where you walk it off in extra innings, where you've seen this thing going around on Twitter right now. The win probability graph, at one point it's up for the D-backs, at one point it's below for the D-backs. It looks like a roller coaster ride. 100% probability to win, 0% probability to win. It was going up and down throughout that entire game. And it makes sense because when you look at the lead changes in this game, D-backs were up 4-1. Then they were down 5-4. Then they were up 8-5. Then they were down 11-8. Then they tied it up at 11-all in the ninth. And then they walked it off in the 10th inning. An absolute insane game by both teams. Sharing haymakers, making mistakes, walking dudes, striking out dudes, wild pitches, pass balls. We saw everything in this game, and we quite literally did. From Bob Nightingale, he actually listed out all the things that we saw tonight. 23 runs, 26 hits, 6 doubles, 2 triples, 4 home runs, including 1 grand slam, 13 walks, 13 strikeouts, 1 pass ball, 1 hit by pitch, 2 wild pitches, 2 errors, 3 sacrifice flies, 3 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing, 3 pitch clock violations, 5 ties and lead changes. This was a jam-packed game, but nothing was more important than the 10th inning, when Randall Grichuk hit the double off Drew Smyly. And that was such a smart decision by Torey Lovullo. How many times have we seen Torey Lovullo, maybe mess up that pinch hit substitution pattern, right? You talk about that game against the New York Yankees where we had like Scott McGuff up at the plate to decide the fate of the world for the D-backs. In this game, we went with Randall Grichuk to pinch hit in the 10th. 4 for 7 in his career against Drew Smyly. He walks it off for his 7th walk-off in his career. Great move by Torey Lovullo and clutch AB by Randall Grichuk. So after doing that little preamble, let's talk about some positive takeaways from this game. And then in segment number 2, we'll talk about some negative takeaways and some things that the D-backs need to work on in the series finale. So let's first start with the positivity. Number 1, the resilience, the intangible of resilience, because we've talked about how the D-backs have struggled this year in clutch situations, not runners in scoring position, but late in close games, right? 7th inning or later, when it's a 1-run ball game, this D-backs offense has fallen off a cliff this season, but not in this game. The D-backs were absolute dogs to battle back repeatedly. They're an offense that usually struggles late. They come alive early in the game or around that fifth inning. They love the middle innings, but seventh inning on, this offense typically struggles, but not tonight. You got clutch hits and run scores in the seventh, eighth, and ninth inning just to tie it up. And of course, you had the walk-off in the 10th. Marte clutch bomb in the ninth with 2 outs. You had the sacrifice fly in the eighth by Jock Peterson. Absolutely clutch because last night you couldn't even get the sacrifice fly to keep the game going. And then Blaze immediately responding with a big double to score Suarez in the seventh after the Cubs' big inning. Clutch. And then, of course, Randall Grichuk, the clutches. Great resilience by the D-backs in this game. We also saw great patience by the D-backs. They had 5 strikeouts to 10 walks in this game. Carroll 2 walks, Lourdes Gurriel 3 walks, Christian Walker 3 walks as well. A lot of walks for the D-backs in this game, almost as many walks as hits, and they had 12 hits in this game. Great patience by the D-backs to really make those opposing Cubs pitchers work. We saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Cubs pitchers in this game. We did see 6 D-backs pitchers, but 7 I think is a bigger number than 6. Hopefully that hurts them in the series finale. We also got to see some power in this game by the D-backs. Home runs from Gurriel and Peterson in the same inning. Marte, of course, coming through in the 9th inning. Gurriel now has 5 bombs on the year. He's second in the National League in RBIs. I think when I was listening to the D-backs radio driving home, I think he's only the 4th D-back ever to have 20 RBIs in his first 17 games. Gurriel right now, 278 average, but a 350 OBP and a 528 slugging. Off to a hot start for Lourdes Gurriel, who has been a major impact bat in the middle of the lineup, not even the middle, the top of the lineup for the D-backs, producing power, getting on base, consistently driving in runs. Lourdes Gurriel has been a major contributor to this D-backs team. Jock Peterson, he hit his first home run tonight. Great addition this offseason to play DH. Lefty power bat. We hadn't seen the power yet this year, but he was able to get his first home run. And did you see his face after he hit the home run? Giddy. Jock Peterson was giddy. It was like watching a kid open up the Wii on Christmas. That's how I looked when I opened up my first Wii. Jock Peterson absolutely giddy with joy. 109.9 off the bat, 412 feet. And then that Marte home run at the end, 110.9 off the bat, 410 feet. Some absolute bombs by those guys in terms of the home runs that they hit. We got to see some speed tonight. 2 stolen bases from Corbin Carroll, which Corbin Carroll, it doesn't even feel like he's ran that much this season. It doesn't even feel like he's stolen that many bases. And then you check the box score, 7 steals already for Corbin Carroll on the year. We're about 17 games in. Yeah, he's probably going to be right on pace for what he did last season in terms of the steal total. And he's not even hitting well or getting on base yet. Like Corbin Carroll, his OBP right now is 338 with 232 average. If he actually gets those numbers up and gets more running opportunities, then Corbin Carroll could be in line for a 60 to 70 stolen base season if his offense ever comes around. Jake McCarthy with the steal as well. Love to see the base running from the D-backs. You got both Miguel Castro and Scott McGough to pitch well in this game, and they both pitch deep in this game. 1.2 innings pitched from McGough, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Miguel Castro, 2.1 innings pitched, 1 hit allowed, 3 Ks, and Castro was able to get the D-backs out of some big jams. His ERA now, if you could believe it, 3.52. So all of a sudden, it looks like Miguel Castro is having a good season with the D-backs. And then finally, D-backs were able to get some luck in this game. We saw some bad luck by the D-backs in game 1, right? A wild pitch went not their way. Well, in this game, we saw a pass ball go the D-backs way. Pass ball, wild pitch, I don't remember what it was. That led to a D-back score. We also saw some throwing errors from the Cubs. D-backs were able to do so many different things. Resilience, power, patience, speed. The D-backs knocked off every pillar that I would want from an offense, except one thing. They didn't come through with runners in scoring position. That's why in segment number 2, we'll talk about the things that they didn't do in this game if they want to win this series finale against the Chicago Cubs. But now I want to talk to you guys about prize picks because spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your prize picks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your prize picks entries today. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on prize picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Playoffs begin April 20th with the play-in round going in right now. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a deposit match up to $100. Prize picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now I want to talk to you guys about Monopoly Go because we've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep. Lift your head up and say to yourself, time to get back in the game. Pull off some bank heists and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game, Monopoly Go, lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone, anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards, make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go. Now free on the App Store or Google Play Store. Now let's get back into the podcast and let's preview the series finale against the Chicago Cubs and talk about things that the D-backs did wrong in game number 2 that they need to do better if they want to win this finale. And we'll talk a little bit about the Cubs starting pitcher as well. But let's first talk about what the D-backs need to work on, because from game number 2, one thing that they definitely need to improve on is decide if Luis Frias is getting sent down or not. He was on my radar as a potential breakout candidate this year in the bullpen. I am ready to move off that experiment. Didn't record any outs, gave up 3 earned runs, and just has done it repeatedly all season, giving up multiple earned runs in every outing it seemingly he has. Frias just hasn't been good this year, and I just don't know how much longer the leash is for Frias in this D-backs organization, because he's someone that has the potential. He obviously flashes, but God, does he give up a lot of hard contact and loud outs, and he just never able to limit damage, or he's just not good at run prevention. Gives up a lot of earned runs. So for Luis Frias, how much longer is he going to pitch on this D-backs team? I don't know. Castro, McGuff, they both look good. I guess they're still going to be around for the short term. But Luis Frias, with the way Slade is pitching in the minor leagues and Christian Mena, those are more starter options. But those guys are pitching well right now. And if you want a long relief option for this D-backs bullpen alongside Bryce Jarvis, maybe you send down Luis Frias and call up one of those guys. How about we stop having these meltdown innings by our pitchers where you give up multiple runs in just one inning? D-backs pitchers need to do a better job of stopping the bleeding. They allowed a 4-run inning and a 6-run inning in this game. And then I look at Brandon Pfaadt, who's starting in the game for the D-backs. That's been one of his issues. He has a problem stopping the bleeding and turning off the faucet sometimes. When it's not going well for Pfaadt, he has a tendency to give up multiple runs in an inning. He's done it multiple times this season. He needs to do a better job of stopping the bleeding, because Tommy Henry, he was pitching a gem tonight until he wasn't, because he was through like 5 innings and the 60 pitches. Like, he was pitching really efficiently and effective tonight until it was a double parade and Lourdes Gurriel kicked the ball around in left field a little bit. Like, there was a confluence of events that didn't work out, but Tommy Henry gave up extra base hit after extra base hit and was never able to stop the bleeding in the 5th inning. And after seemingly twirling a gem through those first 4 innings, the 5th inning just completely unraveled for him. So for Brandon Pfaadt, don't have those unravel innings. Yes, you might struggle and get hit at times, but just make sure you figure out how to stop the bleeding. And how about this? How about the D-backs come through with runners in scoring position? The D-backs did a great job of getting guys home via the sacrifice fly. Maybe like Eugenio Suarez, when he drew the walk, then you had that deep double by Blaze Alexander, or you had your home runs. Like, the D-backs did a lot to score 12 runs, but one thing that they didn't do was come through with runners in scoring position. 2 for 13 in a night where you score 12 runs and have 12 hits, only 2 for 13 with the runners in scoring position. It's actually kind of impressive how their offense looked with how much they struggled with runners in scoring position in this game. So hopefully they can also fix that area in this series finale. And I think they have a good chance of doing that, because after seeing the Cubs bullpen, throw out a lot of guys in this game, for their series finale, the starting pitcher for the Chicago Cubs, Jordan Wick, he's not really a guy that goes deep into ball games. So seeing the Cubs throw so many relievers out in game number 2 could really benefit this D-backs team, because when you look at the game log for Jordan Wicks, he's someone that just doesn't ever complete 5 innings. He hasn't done it at all this year, and it's because he gets a lot of strikeouts, he gives up a lot of hits, and he gives up a lot of walks as well. So for the D-backs, this is a good opportunity for them to get through the starter of the Cubs. Maybe he pitches 4 innings. Maybe he's even pitching into the 5th inning and completes 5 innings, just because you need to save the bullpen. But that could really help out the D-backs team. That third time facing Jordan Wick, those at bats could get really dangerous for Wick, potentially getting to the Cubs bullpen earlier than usual. That could definitely benefit this D-backs offense as well. So I'm really curious to see how this D-backs offense is going to look in this series finale after putting up a big number in game number 2. Are they going to cool off in game number 3, or are they going to keep it going against a guy who doesn't pitch deep into ball games, and you potentially might see the bullpen early? Could be a very good day offensively for the D-backs. If you are looking at the arsenal for Jordan Wicks, he throws 6 different pitches. He's a pretty good pitcher, debuted last year for the Chicago Cubs. Half the time he's throwing a fastball. The other third of the time, it's either going to be a sinker or a changeup. That sinker is the pitch that is most vulnerable for Jordan Wick, and the pitch that you're going to want to key in on to really do damage against Wick in this game tomorrow. So for Wick, the D-backs have a chance to potentially knock him out early and get to that bullpen, which could be on life alert right now for the Chicago Cubs. And then for the D-backs, you got Brandon Pfaadt going tomorrow. Ryan Nelson has been looking really good recently. Pfaadt, we need him to pitch well to deliver a series victory for the D-backs. He has been struggling recently, so this is a game where Brandon Pfaadt is due. Want to see postseason Pfaadt, because if we get that guy, that's a 3rd straight series victory for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, I want to talk to you guys about FanDuel, because it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball season is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. My favorite thing to do is the same game parlay. Whenever the D-backs are playing, take the money line. I take Corbin Carroll over on total bases because that pays out pretty well right now. I take Ketel Marte, RBIs, and I parlay those three legs together. And sometimes I hit, sometimes I don't, but I always have a smile on my face. So what are you waiting for? Visit fanduel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It's Locked On NFL Mock Draft live on April 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern, streaming on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on April 17th at 7 o'clock Eastern to hear who the local Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL Mock Draft on April 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern, streaming live on Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. All right. Let's get back into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, and let's wrap it up by discussing a little Eugenio Suarez because he's been struggling recently, and I want to talk about his value to this team because Suarez is someone that is very important to this D-backs lineup, defense, and right now, it just doesn't feel like we're getting enough from Eugenio Suarez. When you look at even the game tonight, Eugenio Suarez, with all the offense going on, he contributed. He was 1 for 3. He had a walk that led to a run in the 7th inning when Blaze Alexander brought him home. He had a sacrifice hit that was an RBI. Like, Eugenio Suarez did his job in this game, but we also didn't see the power from Eugenio. And that's been the biggest issue with his game this season. We haven't seen the power. He's been great with runners in scoring position, but this was a guy who had 49 home runs back in 2019, 30 plus home runs from 2021 to 2022. Like, we needed more power in this lineup entering the offseason. Eugenio was a big addition to this lineup to add that slugger in the middle of the order. And so far, he's been good in certain areas, but he hasn't exactly delivered the power which the D-backs really need in this lineup. He's easily been an upgrade over Evan Longoria. Don't twist or mince my words at all. Just the defense alone, Eugenio Suarez is an upgrade over Evan Longoria. But even with that being said, we still need more juice from Eugenio Suarez. After this game, Eugenio Suarez is now 4 for his last 31, I believe. So he's in a little bit of a mini slump right now. If you look at his slash line on the season, 246, 301, 385. Those are definitely numbers that we need to get up because Eugenio is too important of an offensive player. And when you go through the splits for Eugenio, one thing that really stands out is he's kind of like a super platoon player right now. He absolutely crushes left-handed pitching and then really struggles against the righties this year. 175 average and a 500 OPS against righties entering the second game against the Chicago Cubs. So this is before the most recent game that we just watched. Eugenio on the season, whenever he goes against breaking pitches from righty pitchers, he really struggles. He only had one hit entering tonight's game on breaking pitches from righty pitchers all season long. It's something that he's really struggled with and something that he's going to have to course correct as we continue the season, because if this slump continues, if he continues to struggle against right-handed pitching, you do have to wonder, when there is a righty on the mound, are you going to drop Eugenio Suarez in the lineup? I don't think you drop him out of the lineup, but you can drop him in the batting order. A guy like Gabriel Moreno, if he just continues to get better as the season goes on, Moreno as a right-handed batter is actually better against right-handed pitchers. When you look at the slugging, his slugging is about 100 points better against right-handed pitchers. So that could be a guy right now that could bat ahead of Eugenio Suarez when you face those right-handed pitchers. Maybe we need a little bit larger of a sample size, but I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually trend in that direction. Eugenio Suarez is also someone that we know likes to strike out a ton, but His strikeout rate is actually a little bit lower than where it was the last couple years. The issue is his walk rate is also lower than where it's been in a very long time. His 5.9% walk rate is actually his lowest since his second season in the major leagues, which was like back in, I think, 2015 or something. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's been a while since he's had a walk rate this low. And it's not just the walk rate. You look at all the advanced hard contact stats, hard hit percentage, exit velo, those are all down as well. So offensively, he's definitely not where he was the last couple of years, and that's okay. We already knew Suarez was probably in the decline, already trending toward the wrong direction. But what we really want Suarez for was that raw power. And if you can at least tap into that, it's only going to add to his value because he's been elite with a runner in scoring position, 429 average and a 1256 OPS before tonight with the runners in scoring position. As a defender, he's been really strong for this D-backs team, especially when comparing him to Evan Longoria last year. Suarez right now, second in the National League in assists, first in double plays. He's been really good over there at third, an absolute cannon for an arm. I am not mincing words when I say Suarez has been an immediate upgrade over Evan Longoria this season. Longo defensively couldn't play third base like Suarez is right now. And offensively, at least Suarez is coming through with runners in scoring position, something that Longoria couldn't even do last year. But with that being said, Suarez is still someone that was acquired this offseason for his power. The D-backs really didn't have to give up anything for Suarez, which is the really nice thing about it. But you still want to get more from him. This is someone that we've seen reach great heights when it comes to slugging and home runs. And for this D-backs team that had all the speed last season, brought all the speed back. You had the Christian Walker in the lineup. Marte's hitting bombs. Gurriel's hitting bombs this season. Carroll hopefully can turn it around from power. So you got all the dudes who produced 25 plus home runs last year. You added Jock into this lineup who finally got a home run tonight. Now we just need Eugenio Suarez to get going, because once he starts to hit home runs, this lineup I think will just go to another level, because then you will have the factor of this score could just change with one swing of the bat. We've seen it a little bit this season, but I don't think we've seen it enough. And Eugenio Suarez is the perfect guy for let's change this game with a one swing of the bat. Haven't seen enough from him this year, and hopefully we can see more of it going forward. Now that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news, coverage, and insight. We'll be talking about the finale against the Chicago Cubs. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.